Hey everybody, this is Garrett J. White, the Master Coach, Mentor, and creator of the Warrior 90-Day Challenge, the Warrior Brotherhood, as well as the Wake Up Warrior app, and leader of the Wake Up Warrior movement. Welcome here to Wake Up TV. All right! In today's segment, we're going to discuss one powerful yet profound concept, and it is the concept of lying and telling the truth, and why you must tell the truth in order to be free. Welcome to Wake Up TV. Let's get started now. All right, let's get started in phase number one of today's episode, and that is our awakening or our theory conversation. Remember that in order for you as a modern day warrior to have it all, ultimately in body, being, balance, and business, as well as to ultimately become more so that you can do more, so that you can have more, and what we call here in the warrior movement, suck less. Well, that means that you're gonna have to be able to understand that your context determines your content. And every single week here on Wake Up TV, I'm going to build a box for which we can understand some content. We're going to build the context or the story around the information, the insights, and the strategies I'm going to give you every single week here on Wake Up TV and in our Wake Up Warrior app and in the Wake Up Warrior movement around the globe to support you in ultimately having it all. So let's go into the context today. The context is very simple. It's a principle, and the principle is this. The truth will set you free. Now, I had my first real exposure to this back in college. I had a friend of mine, his name was Matt, and Matt was the most honest guy I knew. Now, most of my college friends, me included, were big, huge liars. Let me give you an example. We would show up to go on a Friday night, and Friday night the plans would start to roll out, and it was time to get it on. It was time to go out and impress the ladies, and maybe you know what I'm talking about, or maybe you're like me, married now for like 12 years, and you're like, dude, the impressing the ladies is a totally different conversation. Although I have to say, a lot of it's very much the same. It's very much the same. Let's head back to Matt. So we would be out ready to go. It's 5 o'clock. He'd be like, hey, Matt, are you going to meet us over at XYZ party? And he would go, no. And we were like, what? Did he just say, did he just say no? He just said no. Now, what I didn't understand at that time was that Matt had a code, and the code was simple, and the code was tell the truth at all costs. Now, we thought Matt was a weirdo. Why? Because here's how it would go down for some of our friends. Other of our friends, we'd say, hey, do you want to meet us at the party? They would say, well, yeah, dude, totally. I'll hit you up. Whoop, I'll page you. I'll call you. Man, I'll be there, which was really their code for, I'm not going to say no. I don't know how to say no, and I live in a world of lies. Matt, on the other hand, was the foundation of tell the truth. Now, I didn't respect this whole truth-telling idea until later in life as I started to get so exhausted with telling lies. See, the idea of telling the truth will set you free is not just something that affects your college life. It's something that affects every aspect of life. What Matt understood back in our early 20s was something I didn't get until my late 20s after one failed marriage and a second marriage that was headed that direction, businesses I'd built and imploded, which was simply this, that you are only as sick as your secrets. And that your secrets are nothing more than the lies that you tell yourself and the lies that then you project out and tell the world. And see, you and me, we lie most of the time until we begin to be committed like Matt was back in college to telling the truth. But my question begins is, where did you and I begin to live the counterfeit side of this? Where do we begin to live what was not the awakening theoretical principle of today's show, which is this? When did lying become the foundation of life? When did lying in our marriages, lying to our children, lying to our friends, lying on Facebook, lying to the world, when did lying to yourself become okay? See, I can't remember exactly when mine began, but I've got a series of decimal points behind point after point after point my entire life of learning how to lie. Learning that it wasn't okay for me to be all of who I was. That it wasn't okay for me to ask questions. That it wasn't okay for me to be emotionally vulnerable. That it wasn't okay for me to be a guy who could go out and pound it on the gridiron and then come back and compassionately talk about spiritual principles. See, I learned very, very young that there was the right way to doing life and the wrong way. And you were taught some of those right and wrong ways, though our ways may have been different. People said, this is how you operate and this is how you don't operate. They said, this is what is good and this is what is bad. And out of that context of working good and bad and right and wrong came this idea that if we showed up in a way that was contrary to what we thought we were supposed to do, thought we were supposed to believe, thought we were supposed to feel, thought we were supposed to see, that was in conflict with the surrounding environment around us, we found out that it was just flat out easier to lie. It was easier to lie to our friends about what they looked like in the outfit. It was easier to lie to our friends about where we were going. It was easier to lie, unlike Matt back in college, to appease the uncomfortable no in the moment and become a liar and line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little, build the foundational prison of my own mind, my own heart, and my own soul. Those little lies that started in college led to a web of lies into my marriage that left me bound and suffering. This led me to principle 2 in our awakening show today, which leads to what? Awakening in the theory that the truth will set you free moves us into activation of the tactic of how do I become free. I've had conversation with men and women all around the world, and their conversation goes the same, which is this: I've told so many lies for so long. I have suppressed what I truly feel for so long. I have not spoken the truth to my friends, to my family, to my parents, to my kids, to my siblings, to my clients. I've not spoken the truth to myself for so long that, Garrett, I don't even know what the truth is anymore. I don't even know what I actually believe. I don't even know what I actually feel. And see, we begin to take the theory of the truth will set you free by becoming acutely aware of the first code of my entire brand and life in the warrior movement, which is be real, which is to tell the truth. But we start with that truth in the one place that gives us space and permission to become comfortable with the truth and to begin investigating the truth. We start with that truth in the mirror with yourself. See, Jesus had to figure it out when he said, listen, love your neighbor as yourself. Don't judge the world around you, because what you see in their eye is nothing more than a reflection of what's going on in yours. And see, I judged my wife. I judged my family. I judged my clients. I judged you. I judged everybody I could possibly find, because the one place I didn't want to look was to look inside of me. And so there I sat with a choice, my second marriage ending, and my world eroding, and my businesses that imploded, and financially I was distraught, and my children didn't know who their dad was, and really emotionally, me and my wife were on totally different ends of the spectrum in communication. Sexuality was like a non-issue, like not even an option. There was nothing. And the lies became so exhausting that I finally surrendered to the truth. And I started looking at why I had built this prison in the first place. And what it came down to was understanding a tactical way of changing the way you see life. And I'm going to have you consider this might be the gateway out for you too. See, what I realized had built a world of truths and lies for me was their associated connection, that the truth was good and that the lies were bad. That the truth meant I was a saint and that the lies meant I was a sinner. And that this contrary game between good and bad, right and wrong, saint and sinner had been the duality of my experience. And what shifted for me one day was when a mentor spoke into my life like I'm speaking into yours on this video. And I said this, Garrett, what if, and I'm going to pose the same question to you as you watch this, what if life was far more simple than just good and bad and right and wrong and saint and sinner and truth and lie? What if it simply came down to this? What if it was simply, is it working or not working? See, I knew my lies were, quote, bad. I knew my lies were, quote, wrong. I knew my lies were making me a sinner. Yet at the same time, I wasn't doing anything about it. They just kept getting thicker and deeper and deeper and deeper until, hell, I couldn't even see what the truth was anymore, let alone tell the truth. And in that place, I was left with this opportunity like a fracture into the darkness, like a light shined into the void. As this individual spoke this into my life, as I speak into yours, that maybe the point of entry for you comes down to simply looking at your life and saying, what areas of my life are working and not working? And what lies am I telling associated to that thing that's not working for me? See, because there's a direct connection between things working and not working in your life and what you're telling the truth about and what you're not. But for me, when I started to look at it and saying, listen, telling the truth for me is working now. Lying for me is not working. It became so exhausting to me. But when I made myself wrong, when you make yourself bad, when you make yourself broken, when you make yourself a sinner for having this experience of lying, then it becomes fearfully based to try to liberate yourself by telling the truth. So what are you left with? You're left with more lies, face more lies until it becomes impossible to live. And yet, what if you just simply sat back and you said, you know what, I'm just exhausted. I'm just exhausted. I can't lie anymore. It doesn't work for me. Not because I'm worried about lying to everybody else. It's just my life is not working as a liar. And what it really means is I'm just hiding from myself. And so the theory or the awakening phase of today's show is simply this, that the truth will set you free and that the lies will kill you. This led us into the activation phase, which is the tactical side of this, of saying maybe the reason that you and I lied to each other is not just because we're afraid, but because we've made ourselves wrong. We've made ourselves bad. We've made ourselves sinners. We've made ourselves broken for speaking these inadequacies, for covering up the secrets, for feeling into a place of lying because we feel so unworthy. And that leads us into phase number 3 and saying, okay, listen, what do I tactically do about this? How do I take this concept, Garrett, of telling the truth? I'm hearing you what you're saying, but how do I make this mine? How do I make this real? And what's the ultimate payoff for telling the truth? Because from the eye lens that I can see, all I can see is pain and carnage and suffering for telling the truth. And so let's move into the third phase of application with today's principle. You're going to start by getting yourself a mirror. I don't care if it's a bathroom mirror, a hand mirror, a makeup mirror. I don't care if it's a mirror of image that you got on your phone. I don't care if it's a mirror in your car. You're going to get yourself a mirror. Second, you get yourself something to write with. You're going to write with either your phone, pull out your phone and do it. You can write on a laptop. You can write it in a journal. You can write on a napkin. I don't care how you write it. But you're going to write it down and you're going to answer 2 questions, because these questions begin the journey to telling the truth, the journey to setting you free. See, my marriage where I was the greatest prisoner ever, not because my wife was some treacherous villain or because I was some big victim. In my marriage where I was the least honest is where I started. And I started with the first question, and I looked myself deep into my own eyes in the mirror. And I asked the question, what am I most afraid that she will find out about me? What am I most afraid that the world will find out about me? The second question was, what is the greatest lie I'm telling myself? What is the greatest lie I'm telling myself? Now, as you begin this, you're going to hold up the mirror and you're going to look into that mirror and you're going to ask those questions. You're going to give yourself a space. You're going to take some breaths. And you're going to look yourself in the eyes. You're going to ask the first question. What am I most afraid that the world will find out? The Second question. What is the biggest lie and number one lie I'm telling myself? Once you move from there, you'll pull out your journal, you'll pull out your writing device, your iPhone, or whatever you're writing with, and you're going to write the answers. You're going to give yourself permission to write and to write and to write and to write and to write. And that itself will begin a journey. See, people ask me all the time, like, Garrett, what's the point in being honest? Garrett, what's the point in telling the truth all the time? What's the point, like your friend Matt back in college, who could speak the truth while everyone else wanted to give a sugar-coated version of truth that wasn't truth, even though they wanted to call it truth, it was lies. What's the payoff from being honest? I'll tell you what it is. It's freedom from fear, my friends. See, as I became honest with myself, these two questions, just beginning that long journey, that journey that we teach you deeply in the Wake Up Warrior app and through the pro version of the Wake Up Warrior app, where we're taking thousands of men and women around the world just like you to a path of discovering the awakening, the activation, and the application of power in your life. See, power is the result of freedom. Freedom and power are one. But when we lie to ourselves, we constrict ourselves, we choke ourselves, we begin to create for ourselves a world in which we cannot see. Everything becomes constricted. All of our ability to breathe and to communicate begins to change and to constrict itself. Until we realize that our hands were the ones that were choking. Our hands both held the key to our slavery and the key to our power and to our freedom. Being raised a Christian, Jesus spoke this into my life as a young boy, which was this, through my mother, that the kingdom of heaven is within. And that right next door to that is the kingdom of hell that holds the door shut to my liberation. And that my salvation might be guaranteed. But my liberation is something that I have to choose to see, and it's something I got to choose to be in every moment. And the first step down that path is to stop with the lies. To become so ruthlessly committed to the truth because of the freedom that you feel living in a world of liars, being around a world and a marketplace of people unwilling to speak the truth of what they feel, of what they believe, of what they see, to speak the questions that they have, your questions about God, your questions about money, your questions about sex, the desires of your heart, the freedom that you search for, my brother and my sister. That freedom is yours. And that freedom has always been yours, and it was always mine. But I couldn't see. I couldn't see. And you didn't create your lies because you were trying to hurt anyone. You created your lies to keep you safe. And the only thing I'm going to have you consider is this. Maybe it's time to let go of the lies. Maybe it's time to be free. Maybe it's time to wake up and claim all the power that is me. All the power that is you. All that we were given before the game even began. Breathe with me now. People ask me, why are you doing this? Why have you put such a huge push onto Wake Up Warrior, the app, and the iTunes and Google Play Store? Why are you putting such a full court press on putting out content and videos and blog posts and books and articles and TV shows and radio shows? Why are you putting such a push onto the marketplace? And I will tell you why. Because we as a people are dying. And there has never been a time in which truth at its rawest and realest form has ever been needed more than now. My challenge to you, my brother and my sister, is to understand that deep inside of you, underneath the lies that you feel, underneath the stories of your own mind, no matter how twisted they have become, that your freedom and that your liberation is here, that it is here today, it is here inside of you, and that it comes through a simple choice of awakening to the concept of today's show, which is this: the truth shall set you free. Second, to move to the activation technique of this by understanding that your lies and your truths always come down to a measurement of not whether you're good or bad or right or wrong, but simply, do my lies serve me? Do my lies work for me? Do my lies give me what I'm wanting? And if the answer is no, then move to step 3 in application. Pull out the mirror, pull out the writing device, take your deep breaths, and allow the truth to set you free. To set you free. Thank you so much for being here, part of Wake Up TV. This episode itself has been amazing for me to be able to share these 3 concepts. Here are the 2 big things that I ask of you. 3 big things that I ask you, not 2. 3 big things I ask you for this show. I don't charge you for it. I ask you to do, number 1, if you got value from today's show, throw up some comments underneath this video and share it up with the marketplace, with your friends and family members and individuals you feel that could get value from this message here every single week on Wake Up TV. Second conversation then is to go download the Wake Up Warrior app in the iTunes Store or Google Play and get access to the free version so that you've got access to all of the free content that we're putting out there. And also for those who feel called to level your game up, to access and download and invest in the Pro Wake Up Warrior app today, where we dive deep into the techniques, tricks, and strategies to taking you to a place of personal power like you've never had before, utilizing a system we call the Core 4, the daily system to having it all. The third thing is that you live the principles here in this show. That every single week as I deliver up in this free content, that you take the concepts, you find a way to apply them and to live them and share with us the growth and the progress that you're having. My friends, thank you so much for being here. This brings us to a conclusion of Wake Up TV, episode number 1. It's actually like the 500th show I've done, but this show itself is under our new format and new production, so we're going to label this sucker off as episode number 1. Thanks so much for being here as we sign up. Remember that power in today's marketplace as a modern day warrior, man or woman or child or grandparent, regardless of age, race, sex, and religion, comes down to one simple formula, and that is the formula of authenticity. Be real, get raw, and stay relevant with a ruthless commitment to creating big-ass results today. All right.